praise you. For this, we honor you, my God. We look to you on tonight. My God, somebody's empty. My God, will you be the filler on tonight? Do it for your glory and do it for your name's sake. My God, someone is searching. My God, they've been brought up and told that Allah is Almighty God, but He is not. Prove yourself, my God, to be God. Do it in this hour, my God. Jesus, my God, raise up an Elijah in this day and in this. My God, do it for your glory and do it for your anointing's sake. My God, do it, my God, for your word cannot return unto you void, but it must, my God, accomplish that which you sent it out to do. My God, that's right, my God. Don't allow it to be a lie. My God, that head, my God, we know, my God, that the enemy was out for Elijah's head, but my God, make an escape way. My God, this Elijah
had 600 men with him, besides women and children. So it's not that easy to hide 600 men, besides what? Women and children. But God is able to hide you in the very presence of your enemy. See, we really ain't thought about this. You got, they got soldiers that can follow trails, and you telling me that you could not catch 600 people besides women and children. There's refuse being thrown down. They eating, they leaving stuff everywhere, and you can't find them. He said he's in the I don't care if he's in the thousands of hills. I need to find him. But can I tell you something? Whenever God is protecting you, whenever God has his hand on you, you don't have to worry about your enemy, because they're not going to be able to find you. Read.
And they arose and went to Ziph before Saul. But David and his men were in the wilderness of Maon, in the plain of the south of Jeshimon.
David somewhere else. You know, that's just like God. They come looking you on the east side and you on the north side. The reason they couldn't find them is because God is always one step ahead of the people that don't like you. He's always one step ahead of your enemy. It was said, one of the prophets, one of the kings said, went to the prophet, and he said, how do they know when I'm coming? It's almost like he got somebody in my bedroom. God will have somebody, and literally, God really had somebody in Saul's bedroom. It was Jonathan. He was feeding information to David. Read.
Saul also and his men went to seek him, and they told David, wherefore he came down into a rock and abode in the wilderness of Maon. And when Saul heard that, he pursued after David in the wilderness of Maon.
Don't forget now, David is hiding at the rock. Read.
And Saul went on one side of the mountain, and David and his men on the other side of the mountain. David made haste to get away for fear of Saul, for Saul and his men compassed David and his men round about to take them.
How does it feel when your enemy got you surrounded? They got you now. Do you know how many times your enemy done had you and you didn't know it? Do you know how many times he's had you and he didn't know it? Oh, you didn't hear what I said. He got you and what? He didn't even know it. Read.
But there came a messenger unto Saul, saying, haste thee, and come, for the Philistines have invaded the land.
Listen, Saul was right around the corner from David. Had him. It should have been some kind of trail. 600 men, they on horses, they dropping manure, they dropping food, and you still can't catch him. God got a hiding place. Read.
Wherefore Saul returned from pursuing after David and went against the Philistines. Therefore they called that place Selah Hamalekoth, the
rock of escape. David is hiding in a place, and he said, man, look, I'm going to just call this. After Saul turned around and left, he said, I'm going to call this the rock of escape. How many of you know that there's a rock that's higher than I? Look, I just want to talk about the rock tonight, because not the one that used to wrestle. We ain't talking about the Samoan, but we're going to talk about the rock. Let's go to Joshua, the 4th chapter, and beginning at the 1st verse. Now, we will substitute the word rock and stone. They're interchangeable. Is that all right with y'all? Yeah. So we're going to go to the book of Joshua. I like him already. Joshua, the Lord's anointed, and Joshua did it the right way. He let the Lord anoint him. He let the Lord elevate him. He let the Lord put his approval. See, when God really called you, he will put approval on your ministry. Who am I talking to now? When God called you and when God gets ready to elevate you, he will put approval on your ministry. Y'all don't want to hear me with signs and wonders. He couldn't elevate Joshua after all that stuff Moses done. and just let him say, well, the sun gonna shine tomorrow. No, God had to prove to the children of Israel that Joshua is now the man. Joshua didn't prove it. God proved it. And now we're going to see how. Read.
And it came to pass, when all the people were clean, passed over Jordan, that the Lord spake unto Joshua, saying, Take you 12 men out of the people, out of every tribe a man, and command ye them, saying, Take you hence out of the midst of Jordan, out of the place where the priest's feet stood firm, 12 stones, and ye shall carry them over with you, and leave them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night.
Hold it. God is getting ready to use some rocks. Come on, y'all. He's getting ready to use some. He has already allowed Joshua to go to the Jordan River. And it's the springtime, and the river's overflowing. Water just running all over the shore. So God said, I'm going to have to put my approval in a visible manner. Because just to say that the Lord has anointed you is one thing. But for God to do miracles and signs and wonders is another. So God tells Joshua, I want you to get the priests, because it's the season that the water is overflowing, and I want you to get the priests, and I want you to tell the people, stay a half a mile behind them. So now this generation may have witnessed, only part of them may have witnessed when they went through the Red Sea. So now we know it's at least 2 of them boys left. That's Joshua and Caleb. But everybody else, every man or person that was over 20 has now died. And you know how it is. You heard, oh man, I remember when so-and-so did this. Well, I don't believe because of what? I wasn't there to see it. And here's what has happened to the church. We have forgotten about the old miracles. We have forgotten what God has already done. And now we have a generation who has not seen the miracles of God. So God said, I got to do something to remind you of who I am. So he takes them not at the dry season, but he takes them to the Jordan River. He commands Joshua to tell the priests, step into the edge of the water and carry the ark. And tell everybody to stay a half a mile behind. The first time God did it, he let the wind blow all night. This time God said, I ain't got time for that. The first time he let the wind blow what? All night. Now, we don't know exactly how God did it because all he had to do was say dry land. But when the priest stepped in that water, the water went back to the city of Adam. I like that because that was the first man born. The water goes back to the city of Adam, and then it goes back to the dead, where it's flowing into the Dead Sea. And so now, the children of Israel can step across on dry land. That was miraculous. Now, here's the part that y'all really don't see, but you see. The enemy was watching. The enemy is in the hill, and you watching, and you seeing the waters gel up. You seeing fish in the water swimming, but they ain't hitting the ground. And you seeing the ground has become dry. And all your enemies are sitting there looking at that. Can you imagine the fear that had to come upon them? Oh, we need another Joshua. The fear that came, and the Amorites and everybody got afraid because they knew that they had heard about what God had did in Egypt. But 40 years done gone by. Oh, that was, man, that was just talk. That's a long time ago. You remember when you used to ride a bike? That was a long time ago. And so what does God do? He allows your enemy to see him manifesting his presence. Oh, God, let me get my glasses out. I don't need them. I just wear them because they make me look good. And so now we can see that God has spoke to Joshua. Take 12 men out of every tribe and command them to go into the midst of the Jordan where the priests are standing and grab 12 rocks. Grab 12 stones, 12 rocks. And don't nobody know what's happening. They think, well, what's going on here? So grab 12 stones and carry them over with you and lead them in the lodging place where ye shall lodge this night. Give me 12 stones and put them there, because I'm about to do something, because I'm God. I said I'm about to what? I'm about to do something because I'm God. Then Joshua called the 12 men whom he had prepared of the children of Israel out of every tribe. I've seen this before, when Moses called 12 men from the 12 tribes to go spy out the land. God said, that one didn't work for y'all. So they get the 12 men together, and Joshua said unto them, pass over before the ark of the Lord your God in the midst of Jordan, and take ye up every one of you a stone on his shoulder. God said, sometimes God wants you to carry a load. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. Sometimes God wants you to carry a load. He wants to show you, I've been carrying you. Now I'm going to show you how to do this. So I want you to, every one of them 12, to carry a stone on his shoulder according to the number of the tribe of Israel. I could get into the high priest's garment and how he had those stones on his shoulders, but that's for another time. Now, that they may be a sign among you, that when your children ask their fathers in times to come, what mean these rocks? They done come into the edge of the promised land. They done crossed the Jordan. And they coming into what? The promised land. And so now God is going to set up a memorial. Well, Reverend, what was the need of the rocks? He's setting up a memorial so from generation to generation, they're going to pass by that. And they're going to see those rocks standing there. And somebody can say, what them rocks mean? Boy, this is where we came out of bondage. This is the place where the Lord delivered us and brought us out, and he left a sign that if you ever get in bondage, just go back to the rock. Come on now. Go back to the rock of escape. I feel God standing up for me. Read the next verse. 7.
Then they shall answer them that the waters of Jordan were cut off before the ark of the covenant of the Lord. When they passed over Jordan, the waters of Jordan were cut off, and these stones shall be for a memorial unto the children of Israel forever.
A memorial, y'all. So every time, I don't care how many generations go by, when they see them stones, they know that there is a God in Israel. We need a memorial for the folks to know that there is what? A God in the United States. Read.
And the children of Israel did so as Joshua commanded, and took up 12 stones out of the midst of Jordan, as the Lord spake to Joshua according to the number of tribes of the children of Israel, and carried them over with him unto the place where they lodged, and laid them down there.
All right, they done laid them down. Come on.
And Joshua set up 12 stones in the midst of Jordan, in the place where the feet of the priests which bear the ark of the covenant stood, and they are there until this day.
Now wait a minute. So they got 12 more stones, put them where the priests were standing, so when the Jordan come back, right in the middle of the Jordan is a memorial. Right there. But now, notice they were able to get out of the Jordan, and just in case somebody goes swimming, scuba diving, whatever you want to call it, they go down and they can see. Look, man, I was down in the river. What did you see? I saw them 12 stones. And the Bible said that they dared to what? This day. So they had a memorial in the water and a memorial out of the water. Only God can do something like that. Read.
For the priests which bear the ark stood in the midst of Jordan, until everything was finished that the Lord commanded Joshua to speak unto the people. according to all that Moses commanded Joshua, and the people hasted and passed over.
Now, they didn't slowpoke. They went and got over that water, and one of the most famous 3 words you'll ever read, and it came to pass. Read.
And it came to pass.
Hold it right there. I don't care what you're going through. And it came to pass. You may have been living with somebody that was the devil, and it came to pass. You may have been on a job that wasn't in your favor, but what? And it came to pass. Read.
And it came to pass, when all the people were clean passed over, that the ark of the Lord passed over, and the priest in the presence of the people.
Read.
And the children of Reuben and the children of Gad and half the tribe of Manasseh passed over armed before the children of Israel, as Moses spake unto them.
This is what God had promised these 2.5 tribes on the other side of Jordan. I'm going to let y'all have this land and these cities, and they're going to take with them 40,000. Read.
About 40,000 prepared for war passed over before the Lord unto battle, to the plains of Jericho.
Now here's the verse I love. Read.
On that day the Lord magnified Joshua in the sight of all Israel, and they feared him as they feared Moses all the days of his life.
It's going to come a day when God is going to magnify you in the eyes of the people. That ain't nothing you got to do. God will do it. You ain't got to try to overthrow the pastor. You ain't got to try to kill nobody off. When your time comes, God will magnify you in the eyes of the people, and it won't be no confusion. I can't get nobody to say nothing. When your time comes, not when you think it's your time, but when God says it's your time, he will magnify you in the eyes of the people. There's something about the rock of escape. That memorial was put up so that they can remember how they escaped out of the wilderness. Can I talk to y'all for a minute? They had been in the wilderness for 40 years. And so that rock, that memorial was put there to remind them that that was the rock of escape. You've been in the wilderness. While you was in the wilderness, you were in misery. When you was in the misery, in the wilderness, you had doubt. When you were in the wilderness, you had trouble. Your enemies had come against you. But God said, I'm bringing you out. Watch this. When they were in the wilderness, the enemy attacked them. When they get to the promised land, they attack an enemy. Did y'all hear what I said? The enemy had always been attacking them, the Moabites and all them coming up and invading their camps and stuff. But when God took them out of that land, put that memorial there, that's the rock of escape. Now you ain't got to run from your enemies, you can run toward them. Because it's a new day, it's a new season. And God said, I'm promoting you, Joshua. I want them to know that you're a military leader. I feel good because Joshua, he about 80 years old. Jesus. So that means I still got some juice. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. And so he elevates the old man. What old preacher am I talking to? They done threw you to the side and say ain't nothing left. But God said, I still got something for you. You've been through the wilderness. You've been through the misery. You've sat there, and you know what it means for me to breathe water in the wilderness. I told you last week for 40 years, 39 years, they had nothing but fresh water. Between the time that Moses hit the rock up until the time Miriam died. When Miriam died, the water ceased. So you better keep Miriam alive. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. You better what? You better keep Miriam alive. And today they have, watch this, in Israel, they have a water desaltation plant where they turn salt water into regular water. And they name it the well of Miriam. That's so they never forget. How many of you done forgot when the Lord healed you? God wants you to remember, I'm the same God yesterday, and I'm the same God today, and I'm the same God tomorrow. And so now they come to the rock, to that memorial. And now in the 5th chapter, Joshua's going to have to get a flint stone. And he's going to have to circumcise the men. He has to take a rock and circumcise the men of Israel. Because those men that have been in there for the 40 years, none of them have been circumcised. But he had to take a flint stone. Couldn't go down to Methodist Hospital and get a scaffold. He had to take a rock. He had to take a stone and circumcise the men and got them ready. But there are two different versions. The King James Version said that they sat there till they were healed. And if you over 20 years old, you ain't going to heal right away from circumcision. And over in that age, so what happened was the Jewish sages said that within 3 days, the men were healed. Within what? 3 days. Because it was that rock, y'all. That rock had some medicine in it. Oh, okay. That rock had some healing in it. That flinty stone had some deliverance in it. And within 3 days, they were healed. Because, why? Well, Bishop, why? Because if your enemy knew that the whole army had been circumcised, they would have just walked in there like they did. Remember when Joseph's brothers went in there and circumcised that whole town? And they just came walking in there, tricked all the men into circumcising themselves. And them were some bad boys, them sons of Joseph now. Them boys was bad. They ain't had no problem killing people. They killed everybody there. That's why Jacob had to move. Y'all don't hear what I'm saying. You know, sometimes your kids do some stuff and you got to move. So Jacob had to load the family up and get out of there. So now the men have been circumcised. And whether you choose to believe it or not, I choose to believe that God healed them in 3 days. Because God operates with that number 3. And so now they're sitting there and they've been healed. And the enemy is wondering. They're all sitting there wondering what's going to happen next. So now that was one rock. But then there's another rock. There's another rock that's higher than I. Oh, let me throw in that in the 2nd chapter of Daniel, that there was a rock hewed out of a mountain. This is going to be during the tribulation period. There's a rock going to be hewed out of a mountain, and it's going to smash those 10 other stones, those 10 other horns. But there's another rock that I want to talk about. And I need you to really listen to this. When you die in this world, they take you to a cemetery. And when they take you to that cemetery, the last thing they do is put that stone up. The last thing they do is put that rock saying, here lies so-and-so. But what they did not realize, and what you didn't realize, is that when they put that stone up, it's not the end, it's the beginning. Because they'll say, here lies so-and-so, but I came to tell you that that's your Cape Canaveral. That's your Kennedy Space Center. Because when they put your body in the ground, all they did was get you ready to come out of the ground. Oh, you didn't hear what I said. When they put you in the ground, all they did was get you ready to what? Come out of the ground. Because if you go with me over into Judea, into the terrestrial hills of Judea, there is an unmarked grave. Many have come to that grave. And I found out that somebody named Joseph of Arimathea, when he heard that Jesus had died, said, I'm going to let him have my tomb. And so they hewed out of the rock a grave for him, not realizing that he wasn't there to stay. What they didn't realize is that it was the rock of escape. Because when they put him in there, they didn't know that he was singing soon and very soon. I'm going to see my Father. They thought they had him and they sealed him in the tomb. Let me go back. They were messing with his friend named Lazarus. And they threw him in the tomb. And they thought that was it. Lazarus ain't coming back. But what they didn't realize that it was the rock of escape. And so after 4 days in there, Jesus showed up. Won't he show up at the bleakest moment? Won't he show up at the saddest moment? Showed up when Martha and Mary was crying. Showed up when his mama was there weeping. And everybody was crying over Lazarus. And Jesus came and said, it's the rock of escape. Roll that stone away. I'm coming to get my friend Lazarus. Roll the stone away. Somebody holler, Master. By now he's thinking, Jesus said, roll the stone away. I got news for you. One day God's going to call us home. And somebody's going to be at your grave. But what they don't realize is the rock of escape. For the Lord himself shall descend from heaven with a shout and with the voice of the archangel and with the trumpet of God. And the dead in Christ shall rise first. I need you to grab your neighbor by the hand and say, neighbor, this ain't the end. It's only the beginning. Take me to the rock that is higher than I got a stone over my grave, but that's not the final rock. For the rock is Christ Jesus. And upon this rock, I'm coming to get my church. And the gates of hell shall not prevail against it. Lift your hands and say, the rock of escape. Soon and very soon, I'm going to see the King. And just in case God let me leave from here, go to my grave and write on that stone, Michael Butler and the rock of escape, because I'm not staying in no grave. I'm not staying there. It's the rock of escape. I feel like having church, but it's time to go home. May the Lord bless you. The rock of escape. The rock of escape. I don't care where you are. If God protected David and called it Selah, Hamalaka, the enemy thought he had you, but God had to surround it. Lift your hands and say, when I'm in trouble, I'll go to the rock that is higher than I. Selah, Hamaleka, the rock of escape. I'm going home. As we leave, grab a neighbor by the hand for the last time and say, neighbor, I'm going home. Got to go home one day. I'm going home. Hey, glory. All right, I feel myself now. May the Lord bless you. May the Lord keep you. May the Lord watch over you. Don't put me in the grave yet. But if I get there, write on my stone, Selah, Hamaleka, the rock of escape. The Lord bless you. We'll see you next week. Give the Lord a hand clap. And we will see you next week. The rock of escape. Can't no grave hold me. Can't no grave hold me. The Lord bless you. The Lord keep you. Monique, are we ready?